And a good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, Interim General Manager at WEIU. Today we're going to be talking about the Mattoon School System. On our phone line today, we have two gentlemen, Tim Condron, who will be the new Mattoon School Superintendent, and Mattoon School Board Member Gary Kepley. Welcome, gentlemen.
Morning, Jeff. How are you? Or afternoon, I guess.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for joining me by phone this morning. Easy summer so far, right?
It's been some interesting challenges to figure out. So, much like everybody.
Yeah. We'll start with you, Tim. You are the new superintendent, I guess, officially as of July 1st, I believe, of the school year. Going into this with Larry Lilly retiring and the COVID and all the stuff's been going on, talk about just how the progression has been to get you ready to take over the Mattoon Schools.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Jeff. We've Larry has been instrumental in this transition for me personally and for the organization. He's come alongside. I've worked with him since 2009 pretty closely. Serving as the district curriculum director, and then later as the assistant superintendent for business. And each step along the way, Larry's just a collaborative leader, and I can't say enough good about him and what he's done to set this district up for the success of our students and our families. So, he's played an instrumental role throughout this process, and has allowed me to work pretty closely alongside him over this past year. To get to understand what the role entails, but also with our team. As you know, Jeff, we've got a pretty fabulous group of school leaders from our paraprofessionals, custodians, teachers, our administrative team. We're just pretty fortunate and feel very blessed to work in the Mattoon school system.
All right, let's get over to Gary for a second, because in the past few weeks, some really good news, mostly for us guys who just live and breathe sports, that there will be a new football and track, and you got a big grant, Gary. Gary, take us through that and what that means for Mattoon High.
It's going to mean wonderful things for our whole athletic department. Obviously, we're still in the planning stages and the beginning of it, but the school district was notified, the board office was notified of a grant that was available to them, and they did their due diligence, looked into it, wrote the grant, got with the people they needed to, and the grant is $2 million that has to be used for the running track and the athletic area around that and the fields. So it's a great opportunity for not only the Community Unit 2 school district, but for the city, the whole city involved. I mean, there's a lot of facilities out there used by a lot of different people, and once this is dressed up even more, I think it's going to be a beautiful athletic park area for the whole community.
And I know it'll do. I know football and track will benefit. Will soccer also play there? That has been the question that a lot of people have been asking.
Well, right now we're looking at many different things that we can do, and that obviously is one of them. We are not wanting to leave, obviously, anybody out by any means, if that is possible, to where we can accommodate all this. And like I said, we're in the planning stages right now. Okay. We've visited different schools, looked at the different projects they have done, and spoke with different people. The board office here has absolutely done their homework and continue to do it. But the soccer field is definitely a very real possibility.
And before this grant was even really talked about, or at least in the public knowledge, I'd heard that baseball was on the short list also for an infield only turf. Is this separate, or would that be part of that, or can you even talk about that yet?
Yeah, Jeff, we're looking at, as Gary mentioned, we're kind of looking at all those options. So the grant is pretty specific to, and as Gary said, to the track and athletic surfaces. And part of the thinking behind the football field is that if we're going to redo the track, now's the time to be utilizing the opportunity to redo the football field. Obviously, you don't want to be driving heavy equipment over a track to replace a football field after you've replaced and installed a new track. So that's the logic with that step of this process. The the second, I guess, the second and third, we're thinking of them around like alternate bids. What does this look like for the potential of the infield for the baseball field to be turfed? What does the soccer field to be turfed look like? And as you can imagine, we need to take all those into account and look at that cost and what that cost would be. If we do that all lumped into this project, what would that be, and how would we be able to afford that moving forward? And secondly, what would that look like if we were to postpone those projects, down the road? There's obviously some mobilization costs that are saved when you have contractors all here at one point, and they can work around the schedule with the labor. But that may become a real possibility for us, but it may not as well. So we're still, I guess, as Gary said, in the initial stages of looking into to those options.
Okay. So I guess the next question on that, and then we'll move on to some other things, is: do you know when you think you would have a timeline or anything, or is that still kind of even working that through the stage?
Yeah, we are. We're, while we've seen, some pre-approval of these dollars, of the $2 million, we haven't received anything formally to date. So we're hopeful to hear something by the end of this week that, yes, your grant has been formally approved and you're good to move forward with that and start on that. So, some of that, which is probably going to lead you into some other questions here, Jeff, would be what does the fall look like?
Yeah. It's crazy. That was the next question exactly. I mean, that's what everybody's asking, and no matter where you go, people go, what do you think? What's Eastern doing for the fall? What's Mattoon? What's Charleston? What's Lakeland? I mean, where are we right now? If we continue to go along the path we have, which in Coles County, knock on wood, we've been progressing well. This part of the state's been progressing well in terms of overcoming some of the COVID problems. Talk about what's happening at Mattoon and the Mattoon Community Unit 2 right now for fall semester 2020.
Yeah, so where we're at right now is we are in a good spot, I guess, in the progression of this, and moving into Phase 4 last Friday. Help some of our sports and our athletes to kind of get involved at a different level. Before we were in Stage 3, Phase 3, and we were along the pretense of it was only for conditioning purposes, couldn't use any equipment, specific to sport. So I see us navigating into some more formal practices. Now, I think we're still a little bit uncertain about what does that look like in the fall for contact sports and how do we do that. And we're still deciphering some information coming out of both IHSA and IESA as to what that looks like. And to their credit, IHSA and IESA are also deciphering that information as it comes out from the Illinois Department of Public Health. So much like we all, I think, have experienced over these last four and a half months, is we've learned how to be flexible and adapt, and hopefully we can continue down this pathway for our students and our athletes.
Going into the classroom, let's talk about schooling for the fall. There's so many different options and variables on the table. Do you just plan for them all, and then at what point do you have to make a decision?
Yeah, good question, Jeff.
You knew that one was coming.
I knew that one was coming. You set that one on the tee, right?
Yeah.
We're in the process of that right now. Later this week, we're meeting with a group. Our building principals have been working diligently with custodial staff to figure out, what's feasible. How can we continue to move down this path of having all of our students back? That's the goal. We're in a unique time, and no one wants this. Teachers want to be with the children in our community. They want them in their classrooms. They want to be in person, and we want that too. We also recognize that there's a safety concern, and we're going to do everything we can to take those precautions and make sure that people feel safe. And I think that we're going to have to consider options. Options for families that may not feel that that the right thing is to send their child back yet. So I think we're looking at multiple options. And Plan A may mean we have school in person in the fall. Plan B may mean that we have to look at what are the alternates if we slide back into Phase 3 from the state's perspective. Do we return to that remote, blended learning option, that we experienced this past spring? And again, I guess just reiterating, the ideal is to have students in the classrooms with their teachers.
Now, Gary, can you comment a little bit on that from a school board member? You're out in the community a lot. Now, what are people asking you, and how do you feel about the fall semester?
Well, obviously they're asking the same, it's basically the same question, maybe just worded a little different each time, and they're concerned, they're wondering what it's going to look like, and part of the concern is the smaller the child and the mask, how do you have them keep it on? How's that going to work? That kind of thing. I will say this, as far as from this whole pandemic view from the very beginning, obviously the school board office keeps the board members appraised on what's going on and what they're doing. And, they send us what they're looking to do, and it seems like, okay, that's very doable and very feasible, which it always is, but it doesn't show the work they had to put in to get to that point.
Yep.
Like you said earlier, they have got to look at how many options are there. They might look at a dozen things that they're sitting down and discussing to see what is best for the students at this point. Where can we go and how can we best suit them? And I got to commend them for that. I mean, like I said, when I get information from them, it's easy to read it and decipher it and see what's going on. But I also know that they've spent many hours looking at many options trying to figure out how to make this work. And I'm sure it's been very tiring for them. It's been a trying time.
That's a good answer. Yeah. The other thing, and neither of you can answer this one, is I've been noticing it seems like each school district then it will make their own decision for how fall schooling looks. Is that safe to say? Because there's not going to be a universal, it has to be one way or the other, right?
That's my understanding too, Jeff. The state came out with a 64-page guidance document last week, and there are some things in there that are required. And as Gary mentioned, face coverings are required for all students, in public schools and non-public schools. And so we're trying to figure out, how do we manage that? There are those guidance and those requirement pieces that come into play, but correct. I think each local entity is left up to make that decision on their own.
With the kids masking thing, I mean, my personal opinion is I think from 7th grade on, I think those kids will understand it. They're a little bit more quote unquote worldly. It's the little kids that I worry about if they're going to fiddle with it, if they're going to and how you can make them sit still with a mask on. I would not want to be a younger teacher. I'd want to teach the older kids if I was teaching in the fall.
Well, that's exactly right. And also, you got to look at the cost involved because these little kids aren't going to just leave that mask alone. There's going to be a lot of tore-up masks that have to be replaced throughout the whole day that they're in school. So, I mean, it's like, okay, are we going to have enough masks? Can we get the mask we need? That kind of thing. But like I said, this board office, when these folks all sit down and get together, like I said, they went through 64 pages. And they're coming up with the best option and the best things we can do for our students.
There you go. And of course, the worst part is we're really not even to July yet. When this is the first time this is live, there could be many changes as we get down the path, and that's what I was wondering about. Let's say things do stay the same. Is there a time when you will actually release the information to the parents and the kids in the community that a timeline that you wish you could release it so everybody has an idea what exactly fall semester looks like?
Yeah, Jeff, we're looking to hopefully get that information out mid-July. We're still kind of sifting through that, and as I mentioned, we're meeting later this week to kind of talk through with a group, and then obviously we'll need to bring the board up to speed as to here are some options that we're looking at. So, hopefully, like I said, maybe mid-July we'll be able to roll something out to the general public to let them know as soon as we can. So that way they can make those plans that they still have. I think about mid-July, that's about a month away from when we would traditionally start school. And again, I think that's our hope. All things considered.
Yeah, and like everything's on the table right now. We all know that. It's crazy. Well, I'm going to go back to I want to go back to one more sports question before we continue to talk about fall semester school at Mattoon. We're talking today, by the way, if you're just tuning in, to Tim Condron, Mattoon School Superintendent as of July 1st, and Mattoon School Board member Gary Kepley are joining us. the city of Mattoon now is not allowing any live baseball games, only practice on certain fields. There's a lot of teams out there that are not real happy about this decision, but would the school district allow games on their fields, or are they going to comply with city? How's that going to work?
Yeah, we're, I would presume we're under the same guidance from the city of Mattoon on that, Jeff. And, we're getting that information from the Department of Public Health. And, the other piece in all this is, insurance questions around if a confirmed case were to be documented out of this, what are we covered for? So, again, there's a lot of logistics, I guess, behind some of that, and I understand. Just like you, Jeff, I'd like to see kids out there playing baseball, and we're kicking soccer balls around and getting ready for football. But again, we're trying to follow the guidance that we're being given by medical experts and where that information is coming from. So that's kind of, I guess, where we sit currently.
Okay, let's go. I know the other big news that came out in the recent months is the computers will be provided for certain. Was it all high school? You go through that and let me know how that came about. That seems like a really good idea.
Yeah. So we as a district have been talking about moving towards we call it a one-to-one initiative, or one computer for each student. And so we started having some conversations. It's probably going on about 2 years ago from now, and started having those conversations about how could we start building up some infrastructure and preparing staff with training and I guess hiring staff with some skills to be able to provide some coaching to our teachers and to our administrative team. And we were able to accelerate that plan, in light of where things were at this spring. We had initially looked at rolling that out in the 21-22 school year, but, due to a global pandemic, we felt like it was responsive to be able to accelerate some of that for this upcoming year. So we're going to, starting July 1st, we're rolling out some online registration for our families of our students, and then I believe starting July 15th, we'll have parents parents or guardians sign up for to walk through a Chromebook orientation, and they're able to schedule a time in which they can come and pick up that device, so their child can start to familiarize themselves with the device. So hopefully we're providing that access, to those devices for students as we move forward. With hopefully we don't slide back into phase 3, but in the event we do, students will have those devices to be able to use for their educational benefit.
That's awesome. Let's talk about for the fall semester as well. Are you still looking for teachers? Everything set in terms of teachers for the school district?
Yeah, as you're saying that, I'm knocking on wood, Jeff. We're sitting pretty good right now. As you know, Dr. Scosi, our assistant superintendent for HR, this is kind of that time where we're trying to fill those final positions. But if we've got a good audience out there today, anyone that's interested in subbing throughout Coles County, I know our friends over at Oakland and our friends in Charleston are also always looking for substitute candidates to be a part of this. But as we enter into this uncertain phase in the fall, we're fortunate to I think be fully staffed at this point, but would encourage anyone out there that may want to sub as a teacher, sub as a paraprofessional, sub as a custodian, substitute as a bus driver for us. We'd really appreciate people interested in doing so.
We're talking to Tim Condron and Gary Kepley from Mattoon School District. What about any new programs or courses, anything new that the students and parents will see this fall at the Mattoon Schools Community Unit number 2?
Well, the big new thing, as we talked about there, Jeff, was those Chromebooks. I think instituting the opportunity for kids to be able to learn digitally and meet them where I think that they'll be expected to be learning in in this 21st century is an exciting opportunity for our students, for our families, and for our staff. Another key program that we started the process of last year is surrounding Franklin Covey and Stephen Covey's work, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that we're going to continue to move forward with, and I know our friends over in Charleston are doing likewise. So, it's an opportunity for us to continue to move down this path and help to educate our students and our community and our families the best we can, in light of very uncertain and challenging times, and how we can make the best of what we're faced with. As we think about what does the fall look like, how do we gain some excitement about trying to return to some normal, even if that is attending school and it may look a little differently. So, those are a couple of the leader in me and our technology piece are a couple of our big initiatives moving forward.
Okay, that's good news. One of the things I know a lot of colleges are considering, because of travel, but it could also be implemented at the high school and at the grade school level, is when kids get ready for Thanksgiving break, not to come back until the new year is over, to allow the school systems and colleges to kind of clean, for lack of a better way to say it, and then restart the spring semester after January 1. Any thought into that, or is that because of the school days and allotment, will that not work?
Yeah, that's being a different entity from a school district perspective. I think it makes it a little bit more challenging, to look at it from that perspective. The not returning from Thanksgiving on until after. When's Easter returning, Jeff? Is it after?
Yeah, it's usually the second week of January. Yeah.
So, we're looking to get as many days in as we can with kids, and I think that if we're looking at that from a calendar perspective, we're going to have to be attending as much as we can, especially in light of us not being in person this past spring. So I think we're welcoming, the opportunity to be back with kids, and what does that look like and what's that all entail. Hopefully we'll have a better plan come mid-July that we can share out with the community and move forward. I guess, along that thought, Jeff, I'd just like to encourage our families and communities to take an opportunity and try and look at this through a positive perspective, that as difficult as it is, and there are many decisions that are being made that we may not agree with, both personally as well as from an organizational perspective, and looking at how do we make fall work. I think we have to choose to look through the lens of these are the opportunities that we have with kids, and would encourage families to reach out to us, reach out to the building principals and to the central office administrators to share their perspectives and concerns on this, and what we can do to adapt as much as we can in order to meet the needs of our kids.
If fall sports happen, what would the Coles County Clash? Could it happen, or would it have to look different, or even on the top of your mind yet?
Yeah, it's come up a couple different times, and you're right, Jeff. I think it does have to look different. I think the potential of, right now the guidance is in phase 4, no gatherings more than 50, and while I think that may look different outside, or has the potential to look different, I think we'll have to work with the great folks at Eastern and trying to figure out if we can have that. We'd love to have that. That's such a great event, as you know, and it brings out both communities. It's a great opportunity for both Charleston and Mattoon students to play on a Division I field, and under the lights, and just. I think the crowd was close to 9,000 folks last year. So it's a tremendous event with all the businesses that sponsor that and come out and just a good community event. I hope that we can have something, even if it does look a little bit different, or we have to limit, the attendance. Hopefully we can come up with some creative ways to make that happen.
All right, I'm going to ask this, Gary, because this is my one oddball question, Gary, and I'll let you, from the school board point of view, just think about it, all right? Has ever there been a thought of changing the Mattoon Middle School colors to green and gold to make everything equal in Mattoon instead of the 2 years of blue and gold they have there, or 3 years?
If there has been, I have not heard about that. I don't know how the middle school students would feel about that. I would, as a board member, I'd really want to talk to different people and see, because I think a lot of those folks that still would be in that school would like the idea of that separation, where this is our color, this is our school, this is what we represent. But like I said, that's a conversation I'd like to have, if that comes up, with many people, to see how the community feels about it.
Okay, I just want to throw it out there. I've heard a couple people ask, and I thought this is a good time to do it. I got with Tim and Gary on. Okay, we have a couple of minutes left here, and I know you touched on Larry Lilly at the beginning, but I also wanted you guys to have a couple of thoughts here about retiring Superintendent Larry Lilly and what he's meant, not just to you, but to the city of Mattoon and sports and Mattoon Community Unit Number 2. So, Gary or Tim, or both, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go first. I worked with Larry at the middle school when I was the school resource officer, and he was the principal. It's the first time I actually worked with him. And the relationship there was absolutely amazing. But the school district and the police department's relationship has always been that way, which it should be. And then watching Larry, then go into the superintendent's position. As you know, we've had some bumps along the way and some rocky roads to travel. But Larry has always made sure that he has got the people involved that he needs to, and to get the best decision for the community and for the school and for the students. Larry is absolutely all about the students in the district, so he will be well missed. And most people don't know it, but your superintendents and those around them, they wear many hats. It's not just in the school district. They've got other things out in the community that they do, different committees they're on and boards. So we will definitely miss Larry in that role. However, we also have the utmost confidence in Tim as our new superintendent. But I enjoyed working with Larry, and I hope everything goes well for him.
Tim, I'll give you about a minute to talk about Larry.
Yeah, I don't know that a minute can do that justice, Jeff. But he's as many people throughout this community know, throughout the Coles County community probably know. He's given his life's purpose to elevating students and providing educational opportunities and programs to assist them to becoming successful community members. And I can't say enough good about what he's given to the community, the passion that he has had around his years. He spent 32 years in Mattoon School District, and that within itself is quite a feat. 16 years as superintendent. It's just, he will be greatly missed. However, I still have his cell phone number, so I'm hoping that he'll answer if and when we need to call. But
unless he's at a Cardinal game, he's going to answer you.
That's true. I guess one of the silver linings right now with no baseball is he'll answer my calls, but that may change here pretty soon as baseball kicks back up.
There you go. Well, we're about out of time. I appreciate Tim Condron and Gary Kepley, both you guys coming on today via phone. Yes, we are social distancing still, and getting all this information out about Mattoon Community Unit 2. And if there's one thing, folks, if you hear this, July or mid-July is when there'll be a lot more answers available. I appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Jeff.
All right, we are WEIU. Everybody have a great day.